I know. Something very fancy. There's like this ticker tape at the top. Do you guys see that? No, I guess I just see that. Okay. All right. Okay, so whoever whoever do you have a parka on, Christina? Or do you have your fancy loop? Is it a sweater? Look at the shawl. Yeah. I was the only person, so there's this TikTok store you should buy from them called Girls Round Hair. And I just bought 7 sweatshirts because I'm freezing 366 days a year. I don't think you can ever have enough sweatshirts. And they were obnoxiously this color. And they said, howdy, like in letters this big. I feel like we need to give like Bonnie a perm and make her wear that. I mean, the letters were like 10 inches tall. Howdy. Thank you. Yeah, I just took a training and somebody said that the best colors to wear are blue and green if you have a counterpart. That sounds so serious, doesn't it? A counterpart. Okay. Can you kids hear me? Because I can't hear any of you kids. But I feel like, I'm a really good lip reader. Howdy. Still can't hear you, but I bet what you're saying is amazing. You know what they're saying? They're saying, just go rogue, Karen. Just do whatever you want. That is not what they're saying. Nobody is saying that. So I'm going to listen to Alicia because we don't want her to go crazy. Can you guys hear me? But I can't hear y'all. No, I don't hear the kids. So, but if they were talking, it would be really good. You know what they're saying? Don't let her go crazy. My son's team has been incredible ever since. That's awesome. Travis Moses. I love that. That's like 2 first names. Is the volume turned up on your computer? I don't really know why Alicia has to talk like that. When they brought in that big gray box when I was a senior in high school in 1984, I was like, who's going to stare at a computer, whatever that is? So yes, Alicia, I fixed the problem for you. I turned up the computer. Now can y'all hear me?
Now can you hear us?
Yeah, I was just seeing if Alicia is also high-tech and O-tech and all the techs.
It's literally what you paid me to do, ma'am.
Yes, the volume, ma'am. All right.
We can hear you the whole time. You just couldn't hear us.
You know what?
It's a magic what the speaker button does.
As my 3-year-old grandson said today, do you like to be quiet or talk? He goes, I like to talk. I don't know where he got that from. All right, I'm ready for your questions.
All right, I guess I'll go first. So we had some good ones written in.
Okay.
First one is, random question from your biggest fan. I was told by a parent who is also a parent at our school that she read it will help with ADHD, and I just find it very difficult to support without medical or professional documentation. How do I proceed? Should I just go with it?
What? I like that you guys just make up questions just like to throw me off my game. If it's in the IEP, we deliver it. If it's not in the IEP, we don't. And as somebody told me a long time ago, people in the circus, which I was probably in the circus, drink Mountain Dew. I love it, but I'm not like regular people. So I don't know that I would give a baby in elementary school Mountain Dew so that he could be successful in his education setting. So definitely want to get doctor's orders or the pharmacist or whoever said that.
All right. So in the spirit of giving you questions, which I promise are real.
She says they're real.
I promise. So this one was emailed. Not only am I a dedicated listener, but I am a dedicated special education administrator.
Oh, awesome.
I was called into the superintendent's office in May and told that I will no longer be the director of special education. I will be a full-time sub. I have never felt so unappreciated or insulted in my life. I want to become an advocate, but I need the salary and health benefits. How do you become an advocate without health insurance? Any advice on what the superintendent did to me? ?
Maybe email me outside of this and I'll tell you what I think about the superintendent. So Advocates, a standard advocate starting out is going to make $50 an hour. If you only worked 40 hours a week, which I don't think any of us have ever worked 40 hours a week, that would be six figures, which should provide you enough income to purchase your own benefits. And that's starting out. I would never let somebody treat me that way. If your heart is to help kids, please come let us train you. If you can get the 2-day training done, you can join our mastermind, which starts Monday. We would love to train you to go help kids from the outside in.
Excellent. All right. And then what are some real life suggestions for a district that cannot find enough ESS staff requirements? The teacher shortage is real.
So I agree with you. The teacher shortage has been real since 1975. My son was in special education for all 16 years he was in school, and the teacher shortage was real there as well. I don't have suggestions that would help you lovely people. We have to allocate funds to people that are on the front lines. Those are teachers, special ed teachers, paraprofessionals, instead of giving the money to the top and wondering why the bottom is hurting. So I've never seen a position at a school district not filled when it was properly paid for the person providing the service. So again, if we paid people what they were worth, we would fill the positions. We're not running out of teachers. We're not running low on teachers. We're running low on providing an environment that teachers feel celebrated, collaborated, appreciated, and encouraged to come to work, and when they're done, to clock out. So I can't fix that. That has to come from the school system itself, from the School Board Association of America. That's got to be fixed on its own. Our superintendent's making $250,000 to $500,000 a year to do, I don't have any idea what. People at the district level, at the administration level, all making six figures. It's not necessary. You got to cut the fat.
True. All right. So would love to have a clinic or a class for experienced advocates and parents for some tools and tricks. Is that something that you offer?
We do. We offer it every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. in Special Education Academy. We do, if you reach out to us, there are events that we do professional development, if that's something that you're wanting in your district or all of our platforms. If you have something with specificity that you're interested in, you can reach out to us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com.
All right, perfect. And then we have a question coming in from Mama Honey Badger. Says, my daughter is starting middle school, and they said that she isn't entitled to transportation.
So if she has a disability that rises to the level of needing special ed transportation as a related service, then she would. Now, obviously, there's some disabilities that don't require special education. If you have a disability in a learning disability, as in written expression or math calculation, you probably wouldn't rise to the level of needing special education transportation. However, if you have a neurological disability, autism, any of the three ADHDs, any of that, emotional disturbance, then you might rise to the level if you have a medical need, if you have seizures or epilepsy, something like that.
Excellent. And then Trina asked, my son is diagnosed as being on the spectrum, and school claims it's behavior.
Correct. So, yeah, neither one of those are exempt of each other. If your child has a disability, you need to make sure that we've written a robust IEP or a 504 plan to address all of their educational needs. Behavior is an educational need. We have to stop using the word academic need, stop talking about going to the principal's office, and stop talking about your imaginary grades.
Recording in progress.
We want to make sure that we're addressing all of their educational needs.
Excellent. Yes, and then a lot of people are commenting that state funds are dwindling for special education.
Yeah,
And
let me just say, funds aren't dwindling. We've just allocated them to different places. We have people that watch us from other countries, and they always say, we like your videos in front of the coliseums. Those coliseums tell me in a district what you love. We love lots of things in a school district that have nothing to do with education or special education.
Yes, we had a comment right under that. Football coaches making six figures in Texas.
Right, and it's it's football, volleyball, girls tennis, the science STEM, all those positions are filled. All those positions are taken care of. We don't ever have an opening for a principal and the assistant principal and the assistant principals. So wonder why those positions aren't open, because we value those people with our time and our finances.
Exactly. And then Marcia shared, she said, I love and appreciate all that you do for special education. Thank you. She is a special education admin in Nevada.
Thank you. Nevada, where your hair always looks fantastic.
That's right. All right. How often should formal testing be done legally?
Oh, that's so good, because we're talking about that tonight in the academy. And somebody just asked how to contact us. If you want to contact us, you just reach out to admin. I'm sorry, that's not true. I just made that up. If you want to reach out to us, reach out to advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. If you want to reach out to me, reach out to Karen at specialeducationboss.com. And you just had a fancy question, Christina, and I'm going to have you remind me because, all of my brain power went out.
Yes. All right. So next fancy question was, we have a long-term sub for ELA. And
No, the question before that. I forgot the question before that.
Oh.
It was really good. And we're both, yeah.
Shiny squirrels. Oh, how often should...
Thank you.
Often should it be done?
We would like to say that it's 200,000 degrees in Texas, so we get a pass. So reevaluations are a legal requirement if the parent requests it annually outside of 12 months. So that is a requirement under IDEA. There's no onus for the parents to have to prove it, but it has to be in writing. So we are in a series that we just started last week that you want to be in Special Education Academy called Every Page of the IEP. There are almost 150 pages of an IEP, depending on which software that you use. You need to know what's not in the paperwork so that you know what your child may or may not be provided in that documentation.
Excellent. Okay. So my son is 10 and cannot write legibly. They denied an evaluation for fine motor skill delay.
So sometimes it's the language we use. So we here's what I say. So if me and Christina and Bonnie go into a restaurant and it's Mexican food, and we sit down and we say we would like Mexican food. That's the problem. The school doesn't have to provide you something if you say it the wrong way. So if your child is struggling with writing, I would ask for an occupational therapy evaluation in fine motor. Additionally, I would ask for an assistive technology evaluation in written expression. Unfortunately, if you say it wrong and they're not ethical, they don't have to give you the testing. And we don't say it, we write it. Everything needs to be in writing.
Exactly. All right. We have a long-term sub, an ELA special education at my school. What do? I know this is an OCR violation.
So, I believe in, our team here, we have amazing special education partners. And myself, I don't come from a place of gotcha. If I did that, I could just go around all day long and just film every, door to every school building and every playground in America. We don't come from the place of gotcha. We come from the place of giving people an opportunity to address an error. So, unfortunately, kids in special education who are having these long-term subs, nobody's going to call your child at 18 and go, listen, we kind of blew it for 18 months of your child's education. We would like to provide them 18 more months of education. Kids in special education are going to struggle to have employment. They're going to struggle to live alone. They're going to struggle to have further education. And so it is a legal requirement. And our team gives no pass for anybody denying them special education and related services.
Okay, question came in asking, how do I nicely tell the IEP team that we want certain goals that they have not drafted?
Sure. So what you do, I like that she said nicely. So everything is born out of the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. You have to have a PLAF, present levels of academic achievement and functional performance that is puffy, pristine, and prescriptive, that covers bell to bell when that child is in the building, sometimes bus to bus, every content area, every location, every transition, every teacher, every opportunity. And our present levels that I get, and I have probably do 500 IEP meetings a year, are a train wreck. They're a train wreck.
How far would I get suing the school for not providing services from day one to qualify for an IEP? It's part 2. I just saw it. Hang on. Or providing tools to help my son learn, such as with a visual disability.
Right. So first, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It doesn't fix it. You don't really sue the school, right? So you have the ability to exercise one of your 6 dispute resolution options. That might be something that I would look into representation over, because it's best to know, one of our team members or myself actually represents people in mediation, in state due process hearings, in state filings, and federal complaints with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. Each of them has great specificity and different outcomes. So, for instance, the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, when I file with them, I can only file back 180 days. It doesn't matter what happened, what you did, what video you have. Most state complaints, except for about 8 states, you go back 2 years. What you have to remember, though, is the onus, the duty, and responsibility is for you to prove that claim in a mediation, a state complaint, or a state due process hearing. So we have a state due process hearing that's going to a 3-day due process hearing that we certainly want you to join us. It will be the last 3 days, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of August. 23rd, 24th, and 25th of August. An egregious case. You have to be able to make the commitment, though, for due process financially. So I am not an attorney. I am allowed in Texas to represent families in due process hearings. I'm so one of a handful of states that I can do that. I am partnering on this case with a law firm. But it's a huge commitment. I've had a client that literally got divorced during our due process hearing. It is such an emotional load to sit in a due process hearing and listen to people lie and manufacture things that were not true. So, Slidell, Louisiana. Who doesn't love Louisiana?
That's right. All right. I feel like we get this one a lot. If a student has an IEP, will their diploma be different?
So that most of that is sort of antiquated. So, for instance, in Texas, when you get your transcript, it no longer can say that you were even in special education. Certainly, based on the acuity of it, there are a few students that would not actually get a diploma because they didn't have a way to earn their credits. So a diploma is solely based on your high school credits. And so it's different state by state. That's a state statute. IDEA does not address that.
And then have a special education attorney on asking how best to contact you outside of TikTok.
Yeah, you can meet me at any local Talbots. I wish I was kidding. So you can email me at Karen@specialeducationboss.com.
Perfect. And then can a district cap the cost of an IEE?
Yes. So most districts do cap the cost of an IEE. So, I mean, I have clients from New Hampshire to San Diego to Alaska to, I'm trying to figure out what the other locations are, Miami. It's going to be somewhere between $1,600 to $2,600, depending on where you are in the United States. They cap that for anybody. So if they had 10 IE providers, it's not like they're just doing it to one person. But yes, they are capped.
Okay, perfect. And then this was a follow-up to another one that was asked. I believe there's a difference between the autism diagnosis and school labeling it as behavior. School is having the child sent home at 12:30 every day for behavior.
Every day. Just every day at 12:30. So here's what I would email the school and say: it appears that you are unable to provide my child an educational benefit. Let's meet to discuss out-of-district placement at the expense of the district.
Exactly.
It's Stephanie. Stephanie's on, y'all. Everybody wave. They're all waving.
Hello. Waving. We're waving. All right, I'm going to ask two more, and then I'm going to pass it over to Miss Bonnie.
Okay.
All right, next question was... Where'd it go? Where'd it go? It ran away from me.
Yes.
All right.
So somebody, just real quick, somebody asked, so my email is Karen@specialeducationboss.com. And then to reach us for any other, it is advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
Perfect. Okay, my daughter has select mutism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with her IEP. She's not at grade level. School isn't offering any other supports.
So, a couple things. I have two kiddos right now that have selective mutism. It's very real. And so, we have to make sure that if that is part of their medical need or their eligibility, that is captured in there, that we're properly serving that with the SLP, counseling as a related service. But you have to be very cognizant of that as a very real disability. I would make sure that the paperwork is pristine.
All right. And then my son is being tested for dyslexia, anxiety. Are there resources I should look up to educate myself better on IEPs?
Dyslexia, anxiety. So, that's why we train every Tuesday night. We train for over an hour on the federal requirements of IDEA. It's unusual for a child just to have one eligibility. It's just almost unheard of. So it's not uncommon to have an emotional disability and an academic disability or cognitive disability. So you want to make sure that we're supposed to test in all areas of suspected disability, not all areas that we suspect. That's where we get it confused. So it's very important that when you're asking for testing, that you make sure that it's in all 8 areas, which would be speech and language evaluation to include pragmatic, medical, physical, sociological, a formal IQ test to include all 7 Gs, formal achievement, adaptive behavior, a full psychological evaluation, and related services that would include any extra needs that they have.
So Brittany is asking, my son responds better to a male aide. Can this be put in his IEP that the aide has to be a man?
So gender or names cannot be put into the actual components, the legal requirements of the document. I think you can certainly capture in the deliberations, the case conference notes, the PPT notes, based on history, right, that he has been more successful with a male teacher or male para. I think that's important to know.
Okay, and Erica has been having issues with the school, and the next meeting the assistant superintendent is attending. What do I expect?
Well, congratulations. You're obviously a big deal. So I would expect that they are, fortifying the wall for some reason. I don't know why an assistant superintendent would be at the meeting. They're not one of the stakeholders. So when you start the meeting, I would establish who will be the LEA rep, who's the local education rep. So you have 2 different things, right? You have the SEA and the LEA. The SEA is the state education agency, and the LEA. And I would ask, what brings you to this meeting? Just like I would ask anybody else. When I go to a meeting, what I say before I email them is, please provide me a list of all the attendees and their role. Is it cinnamon? Is it yeast? Is it butter? Because I want to know who the persons are at the meeting and what their relevance is and their need for input on my child.
Perfect. Angelica is asking, I have an autism parent support group in Arizona, U.S.-Mexico border. Any ideas I can provide to my parents?
Just, to let them know that one of your major procedural rights, we just finished a very long series on your procedural rights, is you are allowed to have an interpreter at your meeting. You are allowed to have your documents, including the drafts, in your native spoken language.
Perfect. Inspired asks, in a BIP, can we add in things that the staff should not do when our son is escalated?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have things that work, things that we know that work, and things that we know do not work. So those certainly should be captured in a robust behavior intervention plan.
And Christina's asking, what should I do if my special needs child has been hit by the teacher?
I would call Child Protective Services immediately if anybody hit my child.
OT services were, quote, met. I found out he wasn't getting services but consult. Can I override this?
So first you want to look at the documentation. So there's a little secret word that they slide in there. Listen to me. Everybody listening? Are you listening? Called integrated. Get that out of your paperwork. So the word integrated legally means that it could be consult or direct. So you always want to tease that out. Are the minutes direct and or consult?
Okay, and there is a school that is letting a para teach SPED with no certification. What should you do?
I would report that to the principal. And there seems to be a clerical error and a placement error. When will that be rectified? And we will need those minutes that weren't delivered in a compensatory package.
Okay, my son was tested 2.5 years ago. Can I request testing again to include all 7 Gs?
Yes. And I'm going to wrap in another question from Christine Nichols. We have to test in all 8 areas to make sure that we're not missing something. Testing does one of 2 things. It identifies or eliminates. You don't go into your doctor and go, just test for high blood pressure, nothing else. No, they do a whole panel so that they can identify and eliminate. So it's very important that you are testing in all 8 areas initially. And then as your triennials or your reevaluations come up, that you retest in areas that we need present levels and updated formal assessment. Oh, and somebody just said, what if the school doesn't want to test? Oh, then that's completely fine. You have denied your obligation under federal law. If you don't want to test, please just send back all that money you took for my kiddo. That's what I would say. Is that what you would say, Bonnie? I feel like that's what Bonnie would. She would say it much calmer, though.
That sounds about right. Perfect. My child has an IEP for SLD and anxiety, but is doing well grade-wise. What goals can be added to the IEP?
So the goals are around the educational need. So you could have a functional need, an emotional need, a communication need, a counseling need, an organization need, an initiation need, a completion need, a transition need. Whatever the need is that occurs inside of the instructional days, that's what we test in. That's what we write goals for.
Okay, my daughter's high school won't give an IEP because she isn't taking a gifted class, so we are stuck with a 504. Any advice?
Are you saying they won't give her an IEP because she has a gifted class? So I think that's probably what she meant. So I had a client who was ended up being the salutatorian. So that is just completely discrimination and illegal. Just because you're gifted doesn't mean that you couldn't have a disability. That is ridiculous.
And can you repeat the wording you suggested to requests for the poor handwriting / not able to read handwriting?
Yeah, so I would ask for an assistive technology evaluation in written expression. And then I would also ask for an occupational therapy evaluation in fine motor.
Okay, what happens if a school cannot fill ESE inclusion positions? Nobody has applied in 5 months.
Then you're going to owe compensatory time to the parents who require that of you in writing.
Okay, an IEE says certified in dyslexia, not just reading specialist. School says that teacher is enough. Thoughts?
Oh, I have plenty of thoughts. So, love dyslexia, but dyslexia is only one of the 4 reading areas, right? So, what I tell everybody is stop saying dyslexia. Everybody say it with me. Stop saying it. Stop saying it, right? So, dyslexia is phonemic awareness and decoding. It's not basic reading. It's not fluency, and it's not reading comprehension. So, often the dyslexia instructor is the dyslexia instructor. They're not teachers. They're not certified teachers, and they're not special education teachers. Most states require less than 4 hours annually to be a dyslexia instructor. So put that in your crock pot overnight. Do you guys have your crock pots out? It's too hot in Texas, but we're getting them out later.
That's a fall thing.
That's a fall thing.
We'll wait until another grade level to look into a doctor's ordered 504 plan.
So, when we have a training about what triggers child find, when a professional or a parent or you receive in writing that there's a suspicion of a disability that triggers child find, which means the school, child find simply says this, that 300.111 in the Federal Registry, it says the LEA is required to test children who have suspected disabilities who may be in need of special education and related services. That's it. So since a professional already said that there's a suspicion, you have passed triggering child find.
Can you repeat all 8 areas? There are
Yep.
2 questions for that.
Yep. So speech and language evaluation to include pragmatic, medical, physical, sociological, formal IQ to include all 7 Gs, formal achievement to include reading, writing, math, listening comprehension, and oral expression, formal adaptive behavior, formal psychological to include everything that's needed, whether it's an FBA, emotional behavioral, teacher rating scales, counseling as a related service, and then related services. And we have very robust trainings on all of those.
Perfect. Melissa is asking, do we need a 504 with the IEP in order for that to carry through college?
So you don't need anything when you get to college. You will go to the disability office and say, I had an IEP, I had a 504, or I'm a person who has a disability that's in need of accommodations. There's no fight in college. Nobody's going to say, I need paperwork, I need 6 weeks of data, we have to wait. There's none of that. So certainly if you had a 504 or if you had an IEP, the accommodations that reside in either one of those would be helpful when you go to college.
Okay, and can you explain compensatory time? What do you mean by that?
Yes, what do I mean by that? So under IDEA, when parents file a state complaint, then we are filing a violation of FAPE, Free Appropriate Public Education. So that is an IDEA violation. And if the decision is found for parents, almost always the hearing officer will award, it's called a relief to the petitioner, which is the child with a disability. And that almost always has a component of compensatory time. So compensatory time is to return the student back to where they would have been had the IDEA violation never occurred. So it's kind of a very tight wire, right? I've had kiddos that have had egregious violations, although I'm not going to make a child with a disability go to school 24 hours a day because the grown-ups couldn't do their job. So we certainly want it to happen in the next 12 to 24 months in a way that's beneficial for the student and doesn't penalize them. Thanks, you guys, for the gifts.
Can a school switch the teacher without parents say so? Eligibility meeting was yesterday.
The school can switch everything. They can switch and switch and twitch and all the things. But the IEP has to be implemented by professionals that can complete those roles inside of the IEP.
Okay, and the school was given a neuropsychologist report in February. Still nothing. What do I do?
So I think that we are not fully aware of how to engage the school for meetings. I think that we're way too familiar with schools, and we think that there are friends, there are buddies, there are family, there are church members, and they are a government entity. So you need to do everything in writing. So I have provided you with this documentation, my outside professional. Please provide me 3 date options to sit down and review its contents to see if we need to address my son's educational needs.
Okay, and Token Cheesehead, she's back.
She's back. I bet she has a crock pot. I feel like they leave that out year round.
So. She says, my school special ed department is insanely understaffed this fall. How do I protect myself?
So, if you're a school-based member, please let me just know that we love you and we thank you. And yes, the mastermind is open for registration. You can only do your job. We're not asking humans to be miracle workers. God bless paraprofessionals. God bless special education teachers, and God bless teachers. We love all of you. The fact that you take other people's children all day, you're saints from heaven. So just do your job. Do your job integriously, like you would anyway, and provide your information in writing to the principal. I'm concerned that we don't have proper staffing and we can't implement all the IEPs, and then just leave it at that. I think Token Cheesehead got a new picture too. Did y'all see her new picture? It looks good. It's very good.
Very good. Stacy asks, here in Texas, her daughter's 504 accommodations were not met. The parent was labeled as problem parent. Any advice?
I feel like if you haven't been labeled as a problem parent, get in there and do your job. I am supposed to be a problem. I'm supposed to advocate for my child, whether they have a disability or not. The fact that I've been labeled, I could care less. I could care less if you like me, don't like me. I care that my child gets the education that they're allowed to have in the only place on the earth with federally funded special education and or related services, and their civil rights of a 504. So if the accommodations were not delivered in a 504, that's an OCR violation.
And Haley asks, how long do they have to do testing?
So once you've asked for testing in writing, right? So here's how I ask for testing. Dear Buttercup. Wait, let's start over. Dear staff, this is my formal request for Billy to have a reevaluation, an evaluation for a 504, or special education testing, whatever it is that you're asking for. Areas of suspected disability are learning, attention, emotional, and behavior issues. I look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. Once you've sent that email, the school has 15 days to respond to you. If they haven't responded in 15 days, for me, there's an assumption that the notice and consent is ready. The problem is that we just talk to people at the football game, and I saw you at choir practice, and I saw you at the grocery store. Stop doing that. Everything is in writing, or it did not happen. And a text message, a smoke signal, a pigeon, maybe one of those little like balloon things that go for a football game, you guys, like with one of those flags. We could like do that when Emmett's playing football. Would that'd be good this year? We need testing. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
We do. School refuses to give my child a visual schedule. What can we do?
I would write an email and say, I'm greatly concerned that you feel so comfortable denying my student an accommodation of a visual schedule. What can we do to rectify that? Do you want me to call Karen? Is that what you want? Send that email. I feel like that would be a good back to school email. Yeah.
Perfect, back to school.
Do you want me to call Karen?
Is there a way to get a 19-year-old evaluated for IEP services to assist for college?
So it's very rare that a 19-year-old would still be in school. You don't need an evaluation for college services. There's no IEP in college. There is a couple of avenues. If you have a child that was on an IEP and they're 19 and they need help in the workforce, every state has a workforce commission that you could connect with. If you're wanting your child to have accommodations in college, simply, again, go to the disability office at that college. Now, I have showed up at a high school with a 19-year-old who was never in school and had been homeschooled, and I said, we would like to do a full evaluation as he will be participating in the 18 to 21 program. They loved it, and 2 of those kiddos got great services for 3 years.
Perfect. Rid of an IEP. I'm doing good grade-wise, and I don't need any help from anyone. I'm 17.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great news, Hudson. If we've delivered special education reports, we celebrate that. So yeah, if you don't need that, I'd probably, maybe go down to a 504 because that just keeps a little bit of protection in place. But that's great news.
And Outspoken Wife is saying, are there services for blind children?
Yes, so visual impairment or deafblind are the most funded services nationally. Those have been congressional acts since the 1800s. So your CTVI, your Certified Teacher of the Visually Impaired, could give you access to the information in your state, whether that is through a 504 or an IEP. Somebody said they liked the sass. Thank you. I've trademarked the sass.
As a parent, can I request the data collection logs?
Yes, so here's what you're going to do, love. It's a new year. Welcome back to school. We're so excited about this school year. Just wanted to let the staff know that at the end of every grading period, we will be picking up our students' raw data collection sheets for their 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 IEP goals. Do you need a zip drive, a piece of concrete that you can chisel it on, a VHS tape, or a photocopy? Let me know. I look forward to picking them up at the end of every grading period.
Perfect. Can accommodations be provided in a class that doesn't have a second teacher who provides, quote, services?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Kids on a 504, there's no second teacher. So absolutely. General ed teachers and special ed teachers have equal requirement and responsibility to implement the totality of the IEP and the accommodations.
And Kara is asking, what do I do if the district cannot provide a one-to-one para that is in the IEP because they don't have enough?
So I would reach out to the school and say, it looks like you're not able to implement my student's IEP. We should probably have a meeting about out-of-district placement at the district's expense because you'll be unable to provide him an educational product.
I moved in between IEP evaluation. Will that affect anything?
So, obviously they're going to pick up where they've left off. Just like when you request an IEP evaluation, part of that notice and consent is that your consent is revocable, meaning you could revoke it. So whichever components are done, the new school will pick up and finish them.
Hey, are there services around transportation to and from school for a child with epilepsy?
Well, there should be. Obviously, that student would rise to the level of the related service of transportation.
And our new school doesn't even have a speech pathologist. What do I do? Is this a violation of her IEP?
If she's required to have speech services, if there's any part of her IEP that is not going to be implemented, the school will have to provide those minutes equally or more. If I'm doing the compensatory package, it's going to be more, because to compensate somebody doesn't mean to replace. So let's say that you missed 10 hours of speech and language therapy this academic year. Compensatory services are not replacing those. That's not compensating, that's replacing. So almost always I look at a 1.5 ratio. And don't ask me what that equals because I'm terrible at math. I think we've confirmed that, haven't we, girls? They're nodding.
Nothing. Is it okay for them to invite my 13-year-old to the IEP meeting? I was not thrilled.
Yeah, it's okay for them to invite whoever they want. However, you're the owner of the 13-year-old. While your child is a minor, it is the parent's decision if a child should attend an IEP meeting. Here's my professional opinion. I have never been in an IEP meeting that the IEP team needed the student there to make decisions about their federal and state requirements in the IEP document. I think it's great if the young person is excited to come and things are going really good. What I don't like is to get into a meeting and then it flips on the child, and then I'm unhappy. So if I get to a meeting and I didn't want them to be there, or you don't want them to be there, this is what I say. Listen, Billy, somebody's going to write you a pass. Thanks for coming. And we're going to finish this boring meeting with adults and we'll tell you how it went later. Even at the high school level, junior high, elementary school, I don't see a need for bringing a child with a disability into a meeting with adults. This is what I say. Sometimes IEP meetings aren't even enjoyable for the adults, and they're rarely enjoyable for children. And of course, the state has to invite them starting at a certain age, but they don't have to attend. It's always the parent's decision while the child is a minor.
Okay, Bonnie, I've got to jump in with this one because Karen will enjoy this.
Okay.
And then rapid fire is coming up quick.
Okay.
So, Is there such a thing as a BI provider providing services virtually only?
You wouldn't be able to provide a student that was visually impaired services if you were not in the room with the student who was visually impaired. So you must be calling from Virginia, and shame on you, Virginia, for doing that to so many kids and providing virtual vision services from somebody in Dallas. Shame on you. And that needs to be a clip, Alicia. I won't say the district because I'm nicer than that. Or Chicago. Or Chicago or Nevada or New York or anywhere else.
Okay, and I'll ask a couple more, and then it will be Alicia's turn for that rapid fire. Let's see.
I love these names. Periwinkle Blooms. Labradorite Queen. I need to meet the Labradorite Queen. I love a good gem.
Are there schools that work with kids with social, emotional, behavioral, and LD?
Yeah, every kid in every school in America is required to work with kiddos that have those needs. There are some kiddos that have such an acute need that they can't be served in a public school, and that's why we have out-of-district placements. I have kiddos at psychiatric placements. I have kiddos at long-term day habs. I have kiddos that are at out-of-district placements.
It's in my son's IEP to ride a special needs bus, but the school says there's no room. What do I do?
So I would say, I understand there's no room on the special education bus. Let me know what time the private car will be picking him up.
Perfect.
Yep.
And
ask it, and also, when the car comes, can we swing by Chick-fil-A? I just feel like a chicken biscuit starts the day out good, don't you?
It does. It does indeed. If the district suggests or recommends noise-canceling headphones for my son, but then they ask me to purchase them, is that correct?
So if there's a need for the student in school, the school has to provide that. The school has to provide that. So whether it's a motorized $50,000 wheelchair, whether it's, an abacus, whether it's Braille, whether it's a white cane, whether it's visual aids, it's the responsibility of the school to provide that student the services, supports, technology, and devices that he needs to be successful in the school.
And I'm waiting for Alicia to jump in for her rapid fire.
Oh, and then Alicia, could you give us the commercial about how to join the academy?
I sure can. Yes. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go to www.specialeducationacademy.com, which I put in the chat, and then you're going to go over to the training tab where you will find the academy. You're going to click on that. You're going to put in all of your information. Yes, your credit card information. But then there's going to be a little spot that says coupon code. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on that, and in all caps, you're going to put TikTok Live. And that's going to give you 15 days free access, which starts in 10 minutes. And if you can't follow those steps, because my voice is a lot sometimes, you can just go to Karen's TikTok page, and there's a pinned video where you can follow the steps on there and get you where you need to be for tonight. All right. Look, I told them to put some fire emojis on their questions, and nobody listened, so I guess they're not worried about that.
No, some people listen. There was some fire.
I'm looking. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Rapid fire. I don't know where the girl stopped because I was heating up Jude's pepperoni, so if they read it already, just say skip.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
My blood pressure's high. It's ready. All right. I asked for my son to be tested for special education and was told no. What should I do?
So if you're going to tell me no, let me know when I will be receiving the prior written notice that has 7 components under Part B of IDEA. No is not an answer.
That's right. Are private schools required to teach special needs students?
It depends. So they're required to implement the IEP if they are vendors for the state as out-of-district placement. But there are a lot of private schools which are great. I've taught professional development in them, and they usually try their very best to follow an educational plan, but they don't receive federal funds under IDEA for that.
Perfect. And how do you suggest addressing the attendance with parents?
I would just say we certainly are ready, willing, and able to educate your child. If there's an attendance issue, I would certainly look at consideration of in-home parent training that usually, provides a great link between both kiddos.
Perfect. And the code is TikTok Live, all caps. I'm going to put it back in the chat. People are asking. Okay. My son is mentally 3. Is it fair for him to be required to start school at the age of 5 in Ohio? DOE updated, please.
Yeah, so it's, we start school based on their age, and depending on their need, we provide them an IEP. So I'm going to just address a couple of questions that I keep seeing for mentorship and becoming an advocate. So we have a mastermind that's starting Monday. It's a 10-week, 20-hour mastermind for people that want to be mentored or become advocates. The prerequisite of that is to do the 2-day intensive, which you can do on demand. But both of those might be really good places for you guys to start if you want to become advocates.
Perfect. And they can find a link to that in your link in the bio of the thing of the deal above her head. All right. Mm-hmm. This one is, my daughter has dyslexia, but is failing math, and they won't add it to the IEP, just below level in math. What can she do?
So it's very rare that a student has just dyslexia. Part of the problem is we ask for dyslexia testing. Stop doing that. There are nine specific learning disabilities. 9. 4 in reading, 2 in math, 1 in written expression, 1 in oral expression, and 1 in listening comprehension. So you want to ask for a diagnostic test in all 7 Gs. With that, you also want to ask for formal achievement to include writing, reading, math, listening comprehension, and oral expression.
Perfect. Okay, the team wants planned ignoring for the behavior intervention plan, but compliance plan ignoring has resulted in more behavior. What should they do?
So they should take out that strategy because it's not working. Yeah. That's a great thing about a BIF. You can prune it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can the school refuse to do testing because, quote unquote, we don't have enough time left in the year?
I mean, if you ask 2 days before school's out, I'm not expecting the testing to be done. States, depending on where you are, take between 30 to 60 school days to do the testing. So it just depends. We can certainly start it. But if you ask 2 days before school, then no. But yeah, if we ask a month before, there's certainly some testing that we can get done. You do have to remember, though, when you ask for testing, you get in line behind all of the other people that are in line for testing. But they can't just deny it.
All right. How do you feel about the lack of teachers' communication during ESY?
When there's lack, there's always a lack of training. It's not, these things don't happen in a vacuum. You also have to realize that ESY, those aren't your standard teachers. ESY is a gift when it's done right. It's not always done right. So if there's communication that you need, you want to make sure that with your case manager before ESY gets here that you set up a robust system that will be effective for you.
And this one says, I had my son's transition meeting and he was placed in a co-taught program without my consent.
So they had to have your consent because co-teach is a special education service. So when you sign the IEP on the schedule of services page, the determination of services page, it will list all the special education minutes and the specificity of that. So I'd go back and look at that. If you're in disagreement, you can always call a review IEP meeting to say, let's sit down and look at if this IEP is appropriate for my student to make meaningful progress.
All right. This one says they are listed under OHI. They have ADD, but is 5 grade levels below. The school psych says no reeval, won't qualify for ID or SLD.
Yeah, well, the good news is I didn't know the school psych had a crystal ball. I would tell them that my crystal ball is in the shop, not expected to be repaired. And we don't go over, we don't make decisions based on your feelings. make decisions based on facts. And so the good news about the new testing is it will identify or eliminate muffin. I feel like you just add muffin onto the end of a sentence and it lands a little better, but no, we're not doing that. Yeah.
Okay, this one says, should each special education classroom require to have a restroom in the classroom?
No, that's not necessary. That'd be great, wouldn't it? A restroom and a nacho bar. I would like that. Like a football stadium.
Yeah.
Can we just add that to everybody's IEP in Texas? We would like chili cheese dogs with extra raw onions.
They might get their special education services. We just turn it into like a football.
Yeah, we would like to pick up the raw data collection sheets in exchange for raw onions. I feel like maybe they would get that. Yeah.
Yeah. How does one become an advocate?
So one joins the academy immediately, if not sooner. We are an amazing team. We train every week on the federal law, and then we open it up for questions. We take all the questions till they're done. We want you to have what you need. Probably 2/3 of the people that we train are school-based members. We want you to have that information. We have a 2-day intensive that's on demand. You can take it on a beach, in your bathtub, whatever you want. And then we have a 10-week mastermind. We really want you to be equipped to serve kiddos in this great nation.
All right, and our last question comes all the way from California. They had an IEP in April, and she has never gotten a copy of the IEP, and she keeps asking for it and gets no response.
Yeah, so I would email the executive director and say, I've been denied my procedural right to receive my student's IEP. Please provide that to me by close of business by email. Thank you. All right, so remember, you guys, we will see you in the academy. If you have questions, just email us at Advocate at Special Education Academy. Thank you guys for serving kiddos and loving kiddos. We get it right for the kid. We get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next training.